Angelica Gorodischer, an Argentine writer. Very sad. She just passed away earlier this year, Mr. Crypto.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew that she was a recent writer. That's so sad.
Yeah, it was kind of sad. And I was reading some articles about it, and her, famed book was translated by the infamous Ursula K. Le Guin. And with Women in Translation Month and also National Hispanic Heritage Month coming up, I was like, okay, we got to jump into this one. This is one of her most popular short stories.
I don't think we've ever read her before on the channel, have we?
No, this is a first, and it was magnificent.
Oh my gosh. I texted you and I didn't get a response and I was so nervous. I'm like, did he not like it? How could he not like it?
I just hadn't read it yet. I just hadn't read it yet because
okay.
I'll say this. I'm going to be really curious to hear your interpretation on this one because masterful writing on this. Let's talk about this because this man approaches this young girl and instantly I'm like, uh-oh. Right.
Stranger danger.
He initiates contacts with her and she's guarded, right? Like she's a little girl. She knows, I'm not supposed to talk to strangers, right? He's like, well, you tell me your name and then we won't be strangers, right? And I'm instantly like, Mason, my son, like, come here. Like, do you know this trick? like, how would you respond to this?
Teachable moment. Yeah.
and it's also worth pointing out that, did you remember where they were when they were having this first conversation?
Yeah, they're like out on the street, right?
Let me read you this quote. He could almost feel the girl's skin under his fingers. Silk, satin, sweet, warm. I don't want to, he said to himself, I don't want it to happen to me again. But he was already alone. Alone in a world in which there was nothing but the garden. And he asked himself, where could he take her? So here comes along this Slytherin man offering temptation, and she's in the garden.
So you went very biblical with your interpretation.
Well, what flowers was she around when he approaches? There are several there, so there's actually a couple correct answers here.
Oh, I knew you were going to go for the geraniums, right?
Those are some of them, but the one that I honed in on were the impatiens, which if you didn't know, do you know the colloquial name for an impatient?
Oh, I thought it said impatient, I think. I didn't know that was a flower.
So get this. If you didn't know, the colloquial name for those are called touch-me-nots.
Whoa. That's pretty meta.
Uh-huh. And think about how old this young girl. I think they described
7?
her as a kindergartner, right?
Oh, she's 5, 6? Oh, I was wondering like 7, 8. But I mean, not that it matters.
I'm not sure if she actually was a kindergartner, but I think the narrative called her that at one point. The point being is that she's very young, right? Able to be seduced by the temptation of candy, of this doll. He's like, oh, you got to check this stuff out. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, I do want to see that. And I'm just like, oh no, this is going to be one of those transgressive stories where it like offends me and I'm going to get mad. And like, even
I had the same feelings. I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah. Well, and you got to learn like to direct, like, where do I direct this? Right. Do I direct it at the situation? Do I direct it at this writing? Like where does my anger go? And that's what's like the most difficult part about transgressive literature. But I don't think this was that. It didn't become that in my mind because it did aim towards like a moral center, I would say.
Well, it had the twist in the middle of the story, which I absolutely loved, and it turned it around for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the girl leads him to the cistern. She's like, oh, are there scorpions down there? Are there scorpions? Go look over there, man. And this man, he's had all these lecherous thoughts, and I like how the thoughts from a writing perspective too. Just to touch on that real quick, was just gorgeous because it gave you this sinister, evil feel, but it never got vulgar. It never got too descriptive. It was almost like the way that. Like you'd assume a predator would dance around things. Like that's kind of like what the narrative energy was doing too. But so soft. But I couldn't. Like it was sinister in the implications behind the words too.
I'm gonna stick with your S words. It wasn't sickening like some things. Like it makes you feel gross. It felt slimy. Like know this guy's a weasel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, while I'm here in this garden, tempting our Eve, if you will,
Yeah.
we're approaching the end of this man, right? Because we boot his butt down into...
She pushes him into the well. I didn't see that coming. I'm like, she got him. What? This is amazing. It was such an unseen... I loved it. I'm flabbergasted.
Mm-hmm. Now, the man was evil, sinister, temptation before, and all of a sudden, as he realizes he's down there trying to, like, please give me a rope, give me a ladder. Did you notice he started, like, praying and turning towards God even a little bit?
Oh, yeah. He flips on a dime like that. Suddenly he has a conscience and, like, morality pops up, and maybe he could be saved. Like, you're the bad guy and you think you deserve to be saved? Like, come on.
Is he beyond redemption?
I want to say that everybody could be saved, but people that mess with kids. So for me, no. Like, there is no lower scum than this guy.
I don't think you're alone in those thoughts. Okay, so stick with me. This is why I think this author, we got to read more from her. Scorpions. There's a couple references, I believe, in the Bible, but there's one that sticks in my mind, particularly when we're talking about the end and judgment and temptation. Book of Revelation. Do you remember scorpions in that at all?
No, I'm just thinking of the parables of the scorpion and the sting. And the little girl, I think, is the scorpion.
Let me read this to you. It sounds to me like this was inspiration. Like, it wasn't like, sometimes, when authors are crafting a story, they have this scene in mind. I wonder, when did she, this is all hypothetical, we don't know, but when did she potentially get super involved in this potential intertextual reference to Book of Revelations? Okay, so I'm gonna read Book of Revelation. I'm gonna talk about 9 here. The fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. And I think most people interpret the star as Satan at this point in time when reading the Bible. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. Okay, capital abyss, right? Like what is this eternal abyss, this nothingness, right? Like death, the afterlife. What is it? When he opened the abyss, smoke rose from it like the smoke from a gigantic furnace. The sun and sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss. And out of the smoke, locusts came down on the earth and were given power like that of scorpions of the earth. Okay, so this is the end of the world. This is when judgment, when people who were non-believers in God were being punished, right? Like what does it mean to not believe, to be sinners, like that sort of thing. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any plant or tree. This is talking of the locusts that come down that sting like scorpions. But only those people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads, aka the people who were saved, the people that were believers, that were good people in life. They were not allowed to kill them, but only to torture them for 5 months. And so, aka they're not dying right away, kind of like this man even. And the agony they suffered was like that of the sting of the scorpion when it strikes. During those days, people will seek death, but will not find it. They will long to die, but death will elude them. So this is those people that choose to sin and are being tortured in a sense. Right, like our bad guy here, yeah, like instead of just dying or snapping his neck when he falls down, she doesn't just leave him there, dude. She comes back and looks at him,
taunts him. Well, you said too that there's the shaft. He falls down the shaft into the abyss. He's sitting in the abyss of the water, and then she's taunting him, saying, "Are there any scorpions down there?" And he says, "No, there's not. Please help me. Please help me." And she won't.
And remember, when he looks up at her, that they talk about the stars,
the
angels, and he sees her as that in the same way that this biblical passage is. And to me, like, I can't separate the two. I'm like, no, I'm fairly confident that she was imbuing a lot of her writing with like this idea of judgment for someone who's done morally wrong. What is your suffering? Well, how does justice get delivered? And in this circumstance, when we look at this, just on a story level, the way, like when the man's down there, like, are we cheering for it? Do we ever feel any guilt? Like, do we ever feel like, okay, maybe he does need to get punished. Maybe if Mr. Laws, first of all, the name Mr. Laws, but if someone were to come along and save him, you know, could he go to jail? Could he reform? Could he just stay the rest of his life? Like, how did we as a reader feel when looking at and judging this man in the abyss, in the cistern, if you will?
I felt like he got his justice. To go back to like your biblical thing, do you think the little girl is maybe the serpent in disguise? The lies of this innocent little child when she full blown knew what she was doing? I think she knew this guy was a creep and that she was luring him in and knew exactly what she was doing. And maybe this wasn't the first time that she'd done this.
Yeah, I don't think I viewed her as a person. I think I viewed her as an instrument of justice, an instrument of God, if you will, to punish the wicked. Is kind of how I viewed her.
Yeah, because I didn't think this is the first time that she'd done this either. Because they say that well had many problems. I think that she'd thrown some other people down there before.
Well, all men are pigs, right? According to her mom, like all men are like that. And I didn't want to make the association, but you do have to make the association of pigs, you know, the whole biblical story of Legion driving out the demons and the evil from persons. So there's a lot of like little elements of that in the story too. But to me, she was just purely a instrument of justice, if you will.
I like that. That's good.
Okay, so let me ask this question. The man, when he kind of realizes he ain't getting out.
Yeah. When he knows it's over,
he kind of starts to confess his sins. Like
he repents.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't know if I want to use the word sins either. Like let's like, even if we just take it out of the biblical story here, like he knows what he's doing is wrong. It's condemned by society. He feels guilt, right? Like when he talks about her innocent skin, like what does that mean, innocent skin? Like you want to make it not innocent? You want to pollute it? Like there's something about the narrative energy with this guy. He knows what he's doing he shouldn't be doing, right? And now when he's looking up, he's finally ready to confess. He's finally ready to admit, like, what is it about death that makes us face the real us? Like, we wear these masks, we wear these lies about our lives almost every day. What is it about death that it's just this great equalizer that everyone has to face? And it's only then, like, we're almost like compelled to be us, to be truthful, to be good people. Like, why does death do that to people?
I think it's because you have no more time to make any choices. You have no more time to do any good or bad. It is interesting in the story, though, when he finally kind of gives up, he still says, no one save for a soft, smooth little girl. We can't fight our nature. He is a bad person. He's a bad guy. And even if he admits it to himself and tries to repent, that's not going to change. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why a lot of us will root for the little girl and happy that this, creep is getting his due justice. Mm-hmm. Even at the end, he's not going to be saved. And that we get to see justice finally.
You know what I really like, too, is how the narrative energy, like, it's like so much in the matter of minutes, from tempting her with the candy, with the doll. And then like it slows down, like days pass. And Sunday, the day of rest, right? When God created the world, he rested on the seventh day. Like we just, Sunday, done. Over in a sentence, almost biblical, the way that on the seventh day he rested. On the seventh day, the narrative rested.
On the seventh day, the dude's dead.
Yeah, well, and then, then it comes Monday. Monday's the holiday, almost for the purpose of giving him the 3 days to biologically make sense, and that's when Mr. Laws discovers him. And Mr. Laws is the good man. He's the one that does the right thing, and he sees the guy down there and doesn't even recognize it as a human being.
He thought it was a dog,
it's
right?
A dead animal or something, right?
Yeah.
So, does his moral transgressions surface to the level where he appears as not even human, right? Like we talk about when someone gets so angry, we don't say that they flash their teeth. We say they snarled like an animal, like they turn from the human being / creature that they were into this animalistic thing, like a lower life form is how we describe them. And that's what she does with the narrative energy is we end up like pushing this man down to below humanity because of the choices that he made, because of him not, I don't know, how would you describe him being described that way?
Oh, definitely. I think that it takes the humanity out of it, and it's easier to side with the little girl and the big bad wolf, because if you dehumanize him, then you're okay with somebody dying, because ultimately somebody's losing their life. And, that even though he's a terrible person, that a little bit of me is still sad about that somebody has died. And at the very end, though, again, kind of very biblical, is he's like, Mr. Law's like, oh, if it rains, the baptism, the change.
Oh.
Yeah, is right there at the end. If it starts to rain again, that well has always been a danger. Always.
Oh, I didn't even think about that one. That's a great point. Yes. Yeah. So I think with all of those, I mean, that's a heck of a lot of coincidences. I'm pretty sure this author, she knows what she was doing. She's doing. She's been around the block. She's a skilled writer.
Oh, yeah, like 30 books and all these short stories. I can't wait to dive into some more of her work. It was absolutely amazing. Loved this one. Cannot recommend it more. Or I can recommend it more. Highly recommend.
Have you read other Angelica works? If so, please let us know. What are the things to go to check out next? We'll definitely need to be doing that. My name has been Una. Thank you for joining us today. Please subscribe and like. Peace out.
Peace.